Most people believe if they just earned a little more, everything would change. But I've met people who make a fortune and are still broke, and others who earn modestly but live in peace and abundance. The difference? It's not income, it's intention. Money obeys rules, and the moment you break them, money disappears. The wealthy follow one rule religiously, the 70/30 rule, a simple formula that decides who struggles and who prospers. If you're tired of chasing paychecks that vanish like smoke, stay with me, because what I'm about to share will make every dollar you earn start building the life you've always imagined. You know, when I first started working, I thought the answer to every problem was more money. I told myself, if I could just earn a little more, everything would change. But then I met a man who changed my thinking forever. He said it's not the amount that makes the difference, it's the management. That hit me like lightning, because he was right. You can earn $10,000 or $10 million. If you can't manage $100, you'll never manage 1,000. The secret to financial independence isn't buried in your income, it's hidden in your habits. Now let me share something that may seem simple, but it's the foundation of every fortune ever built. Live on 70% of what you earn. That's right, 70%. Not 80, not 90, and definitely not 110 like most people do. You see, the way most folks live today, their lifestyle grows faster than their income. Every time they make a little more, they find something new to spend it on. A bigger car, a flashier phone, another bill they didn't need. And before they know it, the money's gone before the month is over. That's not living, that's surviving on the edge of financial exhaustion. But when you discipline yourself to live on 70%, something powerful begins to happen. You create what I call financial margin, the breathing room that gives you options, peace of mind, and eventually, freedom. You stop reacting to money and you start directing it. That 30% you save doesn't just represent numbers on a page, it represents control. Control over your time, your choices, your future. When I was broke, I learned this lesson the hard way. My mentor said, take your paycheck and divide it. 70% for living, 10% for charity, 10% for investing, and 10% for personal growth. I laughed. I told him I can barely make it with 100%. How am I supposed to live on 70? And he said, if you can't live on 90, you'll never live on 1,000%. That day, I understood that discipline isn't a punishment, it's preparation. Living below your means isn't deprivation, it's strategy. It's saying, I'm willing to trade a little comfort today for a lot of freedom tomorrow. Start small. Sit down tonight and write out your monthly income. The rest, 30%, is off limits for consumption. Use automation if you must. Have 70% of your paycheck go to your spending account, and the rest divided into savings and investments before you even touch it. Because if you wait until after you've spent, there'll be nothing left. The moment you begin to live within 70%, something shifts inside you. You stop chasing money, and money starts respecting you. You gain confidence because you're finally in charge. And here's the truth. It's not how much you earn that builds wealth. It's how much discipline you can keep. Live on 70%, and you'll not only buy your freedom, you'll build it. One decision at a time. When I was a young man, I used to think that money was meant to be spent, that the joy of earning was in the spending. I'd get my paycheck on Friday, and by Monday, it was gone. Rent, bills, food, entertainment, you name it. And then one day, my mentor said to me, you work too hard for your money to let it rest. You've got to put it to work for you. That line changed my life I had never thought about it that way. I worked 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours a day, but my money worked zero. It sat idle, asleep in a wallet or a checking account, doing absolutely nothing. That's when I realized the difference between the rich and everyone else isn't how much they make, it's that they make their money work even while they sleep. See, money is like an employee. If you don't give it a job, it becomes lazy. But when you invest it, even a little, you're giving your dollars a task, a purpose, and a future. That's what the wealthy do. They don't let their money sit still. They send it out to multiply. They know that a single dollar can be turned into 10 if given time, patience, and direction. That's why I tell people, take 10% of what you earn and invest it in your financial future. Not next year, not when things are better, now. Because if you wait until you have more to start, you'll never start at all. The mistake most people make is believing that investing is only for the rich. That's a myth. You don't need thousands of dollars, you need the discipline to start small and stay consistent. Whether it's stocks, real estate, index funds, or even a small business, the key is to choose one thing you understand. Don't chase what's popular, study what makes sense. If you understand real estate, buy your first small property. If you understand markets, invest in an index fund. If you have an idea, build a business. What matters most is that you plant the seed, because the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. I remember when I made my first real investment. It wasn't big, it was modest, maybe a few $100s. But it was the principle that mattered. I made it a habit. Every month, a small automatic transfer into my investment account. No debate, no delay. Over the years, I watched that account grow quietly, almost invisibly at first, but then faster, stronger, like a snowball rolling down a hill. That's the magic of compounding. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't reward impatience, it rewards persistence. And here's the secret. When your investment earns a return, don't spend it. Reinvest it. Let your money's children have children. That's how wealth compounds. That's how fortunes are built. Not from sudden windfalls, but from steady discipline. So let me leave you with this. Every time you earn a dollar, you have a choice. To consume it or to command it. Consume it, and it's gone forever. Command it through investment, and it starts working for you. Start today. Put 10% of your income into something that grows. Let time and discipline be your partners. Because the goal isn't just to earn money, it's to make your money earn for you. When I was in my 20s, I met a man who would eventually become my mentor, and he asked me a question I'll never forget. He said, "What's your plan for personal growth this year?" I told him, "Well, I'm working hard trying to get ahead." He smiled and said, "Working hard is good, but working hard on yourself is better." That was the first time I realized something profound. Your income rarely exceeds your level of personal development. You can't make more until you become more. The world doesn't pay you for your time, it pays you for the value you bring to that time. Now, I know people who spend hundreds of dollars a month on entertainment, streaming subscriptions, nights out, gadgets, but flinch at the idea of buying a $20 book. Isn't that fascinating? They'll feed their pleasures but starve their minds. And yet, the mind is your greatest asset. Unlike cars or clothes, it never depreciates, it appreciates. Every new skill, every fresh perspective, every lesson learned compounds in value just like money does in a good investment. That's why I tell people, take 10% of your income and invest it in yourself. Books, seminars, mentorships, courses, anything that sharpens your mind and widens your vision. Because the moment you stop learning, you start losing ground. When I started doing this, I didn't have much. Sometimes all I could afford was one book a month, but I read it, I underlined it, I took notes, I applied one new idea immediately. And those ideas became turning points. One idea taught me discipline, another taught me sales, another taught me leadership. Each idea was like a brick, and brick by brick, I was building a stronger foundation for my future. I remember once attending a seminar that cost me nearly an entire week's pay. It wasn't easy to spend that money. But that one day taught me lessons that changed how I saw business and relationships forever. I learned that the price of ignorance is far greater than the price of education. Ignorance costs you opportunities you never even know you missed. Knowledge, on the other hand, pays you for life. So, make it a habit. Every month, buy at least one book that challenges your thinking. Every week, listen to something that educates your mind. Find a mentor who has walked the path you want to walk and learn from their experience. Don't just collect ideas, apply them, because knowledge that isn't used becomes clutter. The goal isn't to know more, it's to become more through what you know. The best investment you'll ever make isn't in a stock or a property, it's in the person you're becoming. Money can disappear. Markets can fall. But the wisdom and skill you've developed will always create new opportunities. So, commit today to invest 10% of your income in your own growth. Feed your mind, expand your vision, and the rest will follow naturally. Because when you grow, everything else grows with you. There's a law in life that's as real as gravity, though you can't measure it with a ruler or prove it in a lab. It's the law of giving. The idea that what you send out into the world always finds its way back to you, multiplied. Most people don't believe it until they experience it. They think that giving makes them lose something. But I learned a long time ago that the opposite is true. Giving doesn't subtract from your wealth, it multiplies it, because giving opens a channel that allows abundance to flow both ways. I remember when I first started out, I had very little. My mentor said to me, even if all you have is $1, learn to give a dime. I thought, that's crazy. I can't afford to give when I'm broke. But he said, if you won't give when you have $1, you won't give when you have $1 million. And he was right. Giving isn't about the amount, it's about the attitude. It's about proving to yourself that you control money, not the other way around. Because money is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. If you let it, it will make you fearful, stingy, and small. But when you practice generosity, you remind yourself that you're the source, not the slave. The moment I started giving, even when it hurt, something changed. My mindset shifted from scarcity to abundance. Instead of saying I can't afford to give, I started saying I'm grateful to have something to share. And strangely enough, the more I gave, the more seemed to come back. Not always immediately, not always in money, but in opportunities, in relationships, in peace of mind, because generosity creates circulation. It's like the heart. It has to give blood out to receive it back in. When you hoard, you cut off the flow. When you give, you keep it alive. Now, giving doesn't always mean writing a check. It can be your time, your talent, your attention, or your kindness, but make it consistent. I recommend setting aside 10% of everything you earn specifically for giving. Before you pay your bills, before you reward yourself, pay humanity. It could be a local charity, a struggling student, or a cause you believe in deeply. Choose one and give regularly. And when you give, don't give for applause. Give quietly, with humility. Track it, not for pride, but for gratitude. as a reminder of how much you've been blessed to be a blessing. Over time, giving reshapes your entire outlook on life. You begin to realize that wealth isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by what you circulate. The rich understand this. They know that true prosperity isn't just having more, it's doing more with what you have. And here's the real magic. The more you give, the more life trusts you with. Because the universe rewards those who prove they can let abundance flow through them, not just to them. So start where you are. Doesn't matter if it's $1, a kind word, or an act of service. Just give. Because the hand that opens to give is the same hand that stays open to receive. I want you to picture wealth not as a one-time victory or a fleeting moment of luck, but as a living, breathing system, a machine that works for you even when you're tired, distracted, or uninspired. Most people think budgeting is the key to financial freedom, but a budget is just a fence. It tells you where not to go. A system, on the other hand, builds the road that leads you exactly where you want to be. I learned this the hard way. Early in my life, I tried to track every dollar manually, scribbling notes on scraps of paper, promising myself I'd be careful with money, and for a while it worked, until life happened. Bills piled up, distractions appeared, motivation waned. And I realized, no matter how disciplined I tried to be, sheer willpower wasn't enough. That's when I understood the importance of creating a system, not just a set of rules, but an automated process that works whether you feel motivated or not. Imagine dividing your income into 4 separate accounts: living, investing, learning, and giving. This isn't complicated math, it's a simple framework. 70% goes to living, 10% to investing, 10% to your personal growth, and 10% to giving. But here's the trick. Don't wait to decide each month where the money will go. Automate it. Let your bank or financial tools move the money immediately when it comes in. This removes temptation, eliminates the guesswork, and keeps your plan consistent, day in and day out. Next, you track it. Use spreadsheets or digital tools, whatever fits your lifestyle. The goal isn't to obsess over numbers, it's to gain clarity. When you see your money working according to plan, your confidence grows, and small decisions that once led to waste suddenly become aligned with purpose. And don't forget a monthly review. Pick a day and stick to it like an appointment with your future self. On this day, you check your ratios, adjust for changes, and reinforce habits that compound wealth over time. This ritual transforms abstract ideas into tangible progress. I remember starting this system with the little money I had. The first month, I could barely fund all 4 accounts properly. But by automating, even with small amounts, I trained myself to think differently. My money was no longer something I spent emotionally. It became a team of workers marching toward a goal. I stopped asking, "Can I afford this?" and started asking, "Does this serve my system?" Over time, those small automatic moves became unstoppable momentum. By the end of the year, what began as pennies turned into hundreds, then thousands, then real freedom. A system protects you from your weaknesses, magnifies your strengths, and makes wealth predictable rather than accidental. Don't rely on willpower or inspiration. Build a machine that works for you every day. Start now and let the system lead the way. Let me tell you something that changed my life. Opportunity is everywhere, but opportunity without discipline is wasted potential. I've seen countless people with big ideas, great ambitions, and even decent incomes fail to get ahead, not because they lacked resources, but because they lacked the habit of consistent self-control. Discipline is not some harsh punishment. It's a gift you give yourself. It is the bridge between your goals and your results. Wealth isn't built overnight, and it isn't built on a whim. It's built one intentional choice at a time, repeated day after day, until it becomes second nature. Early in my career, I was tempted constantly by things that promised comfort and excitement. Dinners out, gadgets, even small indulgences that felt harmless. I would rationalize it's just one day, it won't matter. But one day became two, then a week, and before I knew it, the money I had meant for growth was gone. That's when I realized, if I wanted to escape the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck, I had to make discipline my companion, my daily practice. I started small. Before every purchase, no matter how minor, I instituted a 24-hour cooling off period. This simple pause allowed me to evaluate whether the expense served my future or merely satisfied a fleeting desire. Over time, this pause became instinctive. Discipline also means spending intentionally. Every dollar has a role. I would ask myself, does this move me toward freedom, knowledge, or security? Or does it merely soothe a temporary craving? I began categorizing purchases into two buckets: those that built my future and those that fed my feelings. The difference was staggering. The same income that once disappeared in days now grew steadily because I was conscious about directing it toward meaningful goals. And here's the beautiful part: discipline isn't about deprivation. It's about empowerment. Every time you save instead of splurge, every time you invest instead of impulse buy, you reinforce the habit that turns ordinary people into the 3% who build real wealth. Celebrate the small wins. Every time I resisted a needless purchase or watched my savings grow, I marked the progress. Those small victories created momentum. They rewired my thinking. I no longer saw money as something to chase or spend recklessly, but as a tool I commanded. With discipline as my ally, I discovered patience, foresight, and confidence. I could now delay gratification for the bigger reward: financial freedom, independence, and security. So, if you want wealth that lasts, let discipline be your best friend. Practice it daily. Start small and honor your future with every choice. Wealth isn't given, it's earned through the consistent, conscious application of self-control. Your tomorrow is shaped by what you do today. Let me start by asking you a simple question. If you had a magic machine that doubled every dollar you put in, would you use it? Of course you would. Now, what if I told you that such a machine already exists, and it's called time? Time is the invisible multiplier that separates the wealthy from everyone else. Most people overlook it. They think wealth comes from sudden windfalls, lucky breaks, or earning a bigger paycheck. But the truth is, real wealth is compounded quietly, steadily, almost invisibly by the decisions you make today and the patience you exercise tomorrow. Early in my own life, I didn't understand this. I watched others chase schemes that promised instant results and ended up empty-handed. Then a mentor shared a principle that changed everything. Start early, start small, and let time do the heavy lifting. I began setting aside a small portion of what little I earned into investments. At first, it seemed insignificant. A few dollars here, a few there. But over the years, the power of consistent contribution became staggering. Those small, steady deposits grew into a foundation that could withstand market swings, setbacks, and even personal mistakes. The key is patience. The wealthy understand that pulling from investments too early is like harvesting a tree before it bears fruit. You must allow your assets to mature, compounding quietly, multiplying over years, even decades. That's why it's never too early to begin, and it's never too late to continue. Each day, each week, each month you contribute, you add a brick to the foundation of your future freedom. Consistency outweighs intensity. A large but inconsistent effort cannot compete with small, faithful actions over time. Annual reviews are essential. Check your portfolio, adjust allocations if necessary, but do not be tempted to quit when results seem slow. Time rewards persistence, not impatience. I remember when my investments were tiny and the growth barely noticeable. Yet I stayed disciplined, continued to add steadily, and over the years, the growth was exponential. That's the beauty of letting time work with you rather than against you. So start today. Don't wait for the perfect paycheck, the perfect moment, or the perfect market conditions. Even modest contributions, started now and sustained consistently, will multiply into real financial freedom. Time is patient, but it rewards those who are patient with it. Wealth is not built in a day, it's built every day, quietly, steadily, and intelligently. Let time be your partner, and you will discover the power of compounding in a way that transforms your life. When I think about wealth, I realize it's not just about numbers in a bank account, it's about values, habits, and the culture we cultivate around money. I've seen too many families struggle financially, not because they didn't earn enough, but because money was treated as a taboo topic, a source of stress, or a fleeting resource. Wealth is sustained when it's understood, discussed, and practiced collectively. That's why turning money management into a family philosophy is not just smart, it's essential. When your household speaks the same financial language, you multiply not just dollars, but understanding and discipline. Early in my journey, I learned the importance of teaching what I was learning. I started sharing my principles of saving, investing, and giving with my family. At first, it felt uncomfortable. Children don't naturally understand compound interest, and partners might resist seeing the numbers in black and white. But slowly, as we discussed our financial goals, the atmosphere shifted. Money became a tool, not a source of stress. By creating open dialogue, everyone understood the why behind our actions, and the discipline became natural rather than forced. Teaching your household to value money, to respect it, and to make intentional decisions ensures the entire family moves in the same direction. The 70/30 system is a perfect framework to share. By explaining that 70% goes to living expenses, 10% to investments, 10% to learning, and 10% to giving, children and partners begin to see money as purposeful, not just for immediate consumption. I remember involving my children in small budgeting exercises, letting them allocate part of their allowance for saving or giving, and watching their pride as they met their mini goals. These small experiences plant seeds of financial wisdom that last a lifetime. Shared financial goals amplify this effect. When the family works together toward a vacation, a home improvement project, or a long-term investment, everyone becomes accountable. Celebrating milestones together reinforces discipline and gratitude, creating a culture where money is respected and used strategically. This transforms wealth from being a personal pursuit into a shared journey. Ultimately, wealth is not only about accumulation, it's about cultivation. When money principles are embedded in your family culture, you create a legacy of understanding, responsibility, and freedom. Your children inherit habits and wisdom, not just dollars. Your partners become allies in building stability and growth. By teaching, involving, and celebrating together, wealth becomes a living, breathing philosophy, sustaining itself across generations. Wealth multiplies when knowledge multiplies. Make your family part of the journey, and your financial future will flourish far beyond what you could achieve alone. When we think about wealth, it's easy to focus on numbers, investments, or the next goal, but real success has a heart to it, and that heart is gratitude. I've learned over the years that gratitude transforms the pursuit of money from a mechanical exercise into a deeply fulfilling journey. When you anchor your financial life in appreciation, you begin to see each dollar, each opportunity, and each lesson not as pressure or obligation, but as a stepping stone toward growth. Wealth without gratitude can become emptiness. Wealth with gratitude becomes a magnet for more blessings. Early in my career, I noticed a pattern. People who constantly chased money without pausing to reflect often burned out or lost focus. I remember a young colleague, ambitious and driven, who never celebrated small wins. Every achievement was fleeting, immediately replaced by the next target. His bank account grew, but his satisfaction didn't. I realized then that success without reflection is like planting seeds without tending the soil. You might get some growth, but it won't flourish fully. Gratitude, I found, is the water that nourishes every seed you plant, making your effort sustainable and your journey joyful. One practical way to cultivate this mindset is through a wealth journal. Every week, I take time to note 3 things I'm grateful for in my financial journey. Sometimes it's lessons learned from a mistake, other times a milestone reached, or simply the steady growth of investments that are quietly compounding. These reflections do more than lift my spirit. They reinforce the discipline that created them. Gratitude transforms numbers into narratives, turning cold accounting into a story of progress, resilience, and purpose. Celebrating small milestones is equally important. When I first started saving and investing, the amounts were modest, almost laughable by today's standards. Yet each dollar set aside, each tiny investment, each lesson absorbed became a reason to pause and feel grateful. That feeling of acknowledgement fuels momentum, reminding you why the work matters and keeping you committed even when results seem slow. It also trains your mind to focus on abundance rather than scarcity, a subtle but powerful shift that affects every financial decision you make. Finally, gratitude allows reflection, looking back on how far you've come and recognizing the distance traveled. It anchors your success, giving context to your goals and reinforcing the principles that brought you here. When you see growth, even incremental, you strengthen your resolve to continue, to steward your resources wisely, and to multiply the value you create. Remember, wealth isn't just numbers. It's a story of intentional actions, lessons learned, and blessings acknowledged. Let gratitude anchor your journey, and your financial life will flourish in ways beyond the ledger. When we start out, most of us live in a world where our time is the currency. We trade hours for dollars, effort for paychecks, and we convince ourselves that this is the path to freedom. Yet over the years, I've discovered a fundamental truth. Real financial independence doesn't come from working harder. It comes from letting your money work harder for you. That's the secret of converting earned income into passive income. It's the difference between living paycheck to paycheck and living with choices, opportunities, and freedom. I learned this lesson early when I realized that no matter how many hours I added, there was a ceiling to my earnings. There's only so much a person can do in a day, but money, if structured wisely, has no such limitation. The philosophy is simple but profound. Your labor creates your seed, and your seed, when planted into the right vehicles, grows independently. The rich understand this principle. They don't merely accumulate money. They transform their active earnings into streams that generate cash flow while they sleep, travel, or focus on higher value endeavors. You see, when I first began investing, I had almost nothing, but I made a commitment to allocate a portion of every paycheck to assets that could produce returns. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't immediate, but over time, those small actions multiplied beyond what my hourly work alone could achieve. The strategy is straightforward. Identify portions of your earned income that can be invested wisely. This could be dividend-paying stocks, rental properties, digital products, or royalties from intellectual work. What matters is that you create assets that produce more than they consume, that generate income streams independent of your daily labor. Even if you start with a modest percentage, say 20% of your earnings, the compounding effect over years transforms your financial landscape. The key is consistency, patience, and the discipline to reinvest returns instead of spending them. The first investment teaches you discipline, the reinvestment teaches you freedom. Practically, it begins with conscious allocation. Set aside a defined portion of your income, no matter how small, and direct it toward productive assets. Learn about opportunities that align with your understanding and risk tolerance. Start small, but start immediately, because the greatest ally of passive income is time. As your confidence grows, expand these investments, always reinvesting the profits to accelerate compounding. Never treat your seed as harvest. Let it grow. Real wealth emerges when your money begins to multiply independently, allowing you to focus on creating more value in life rather than merely earning it. True freedom isn't in the work you do. It's in the systems and assets that free you to live on your terms. Begin converting your earned income into passive income today, and let your money become the engine that carries you toward lasting independence. I've seen it countless times. People make choices with their money based on fear, excitement, or the latest hot tip, and they wonder why nothing seems to grow. Wealth is not built in moments of emotional impulse. It is cultivated in deliberate, disciplined action. The philosophy is simple yet profound. Emotion clouds judgment, and every time you act on a fleeting feeling, you surrender control over your financial future. I learned this lesson early when I watched friends panic sell stocks during a downturn or chase fads with their hard-earned cash. Those decisions cost them more than just money. They cost peace of mind and long-term opportunity. The strategy is to anchor your choices in logic, data, and discipline rather than moods or market noise. When you treat your financial life like a system rather than a series of reactions, you take power back from fleeting emotions. I remember the first time I wrote down clear investment rules for myself. It wasn't just about knowing what to buy or sell, it was about creating boundaries that protected me from myself. These rules became my compass. When fear or greed knocked on the door, I simply consulted the guidelines I had established and acted accordingly. The clarity that came from having rules in place was liberating. I stopped reacting and started controlling. Practically, it begins with creating written principles that define how you handle money. What percentage of income goes to savings? How much risk will you accept in investments? When will you liquidate an asset? These aren't arbitrary numbers, they are agreements with yourself that remove emotion from the equation. Next, enforce a waiting period before any major financial decision. I suggest 24 hours, because time is the antidote to impulse. I've seen people avoid disastrous choices simply by stepping back and allowing rational thought to surface. Finally, review your choices quarterly instead of daily. The markets, like life, fluctuate constantly, and checking every day invites unnecessary stress and emotional reactions. Periodic reviews keep perspective intact and maintain the discipline that grows wealth. Your wealth is a reflection of your choices. but it is also a reflection of your ability to stay calm, consistent, and rational. Emotional decisions are thieves. They take more than money. They rob you of the confidence that comes from self-control. I've watched those who mastered patience, who built systems, and who adhered to their principles accumulate wealth steadily while others chased shiny distractions. Protecting your wealth begins with protecting your mind from the tyranny of emotion. Stick to your rules, pause before acting, and trust the system. Control your feelings, and you control your financial destiny. I want you to imagine something very simple but often overlooked. Every dollar you earn is a soldier, and you are its commander. Now, most people spend money as consumers, reacting to desires, trends, or immediate pleasure. They buy what feels good today, but what does it build for tomorrow? The philosophy is clear. Wealth grows when you adopt the mindset of an investor, not a consumer. Every dollar you earn should have a purpose. Is it serving your future, or is it vanishing in fleeting satisfaction? The difference between those who accumulate wealth and those who never seem to get ahead is this subtle but profound shift in thinking. The strategy is to reframe your relationship with money. Stop seeing it as a tool only to buy things. Instead, view it as a resource to allocate wisely. Like a general assigning troops to the most strategic positions, consumers spend, investors allocate. When you begin thinking this way, you start treating money with respect and intention. Investments don't always mean the stock market. They can be skills, education, or even small entrepreneurial experiments. The key is that every dollar works toward building your future. I remember early in my career, when I was broke, I began labeling my expenses. I asked myself, is this consumption or is this an investment? That small mental exercise completely changed my behavior. Instead of mindlessly spending on convenience or temporary pleasures, I redirected even tiny amounts into learning, books, and small business experiments. Practically begin by tracking your spending meticulously. Write down every expense and assign it a label, consumption or investment. Once you see the ratio, aim to increase the investment portion each month, even slightly. Remember, wealth is compounded over time, not achieved in a single leap. I started with just $10 per week invested in a book or a small course. And over months and years, those small investments multiplied in knowledge, opportunity, and confidence. Finally, reward yourself for creating, not just consuming. Celebrate when you redirect money into assets, education, or ventures rather than just gadgets or luxuries. That reinforcement strengthens the habit. The transformation is profound. Your mind begins to value creation over gratification, growth over indulgence, and long-term security over fleeting pleasure. When you adopt the investor's mindset, money ceases to control you. You control it, and it begins to serve you. The simple shift from spending to allocating, from consuming to investing, will gradually build the life and freedom you've been chasing. Think like an investor, act deliberately, and watch your wealth grow steadily, quietly, and powerfully. Let me start with a truth that many overlook. Your environment shapes your destiny. The people you surround yourself with either lift you up or pull you down. I've seen it countless times. Brilliant ideas, strong discipline, and even wealth-building habits can wither if you're constantly in the presence of doubt, negativity, or complacency. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's not just a catchy line, it's a law of life. If you want to break free from financial struggle and think like the wealthy, you must be intentional about the company you keep. The philosophy is simple yet profound. Humans are influenced by energy, mindset, and conversation. When you spend time with people who constantly complain, blame circumstances, or chase fleeting pleasures, you absorb that mentality without realizing it. Conversely, if you engage with those who think in terms of growth, discipline, and contribution, your thinking expands. Their habits, their language, their focus on opportunity rather than limitation, all become part of your own mental framework. I recall my early days, struggling financially and searching for guidance. I was fortunate to connect with a few mentors who challenged me to raise my standards. Their questions, their perspective on money, and their discipline shaped my choices far more than any book or seminar could have alone. The strategy is to consciously choose your associations. Seek people who inspire action, who discuss possibilities, who measure success not by what they consume, but by what they create. This doesn't mean avoiding all casual friendships, but it does mean prioritizing time with those who stretch you. Surrounding yourself with financially intelligent people creates a feedback loop. You learn faster, make better decisions, and your ambitions are validated and encouraged rather than diminished. Practically, start by auditing your current relationships. Who uplifts you? Who drags your energy and mindset down? Commit to joining networking groups, masterminds, or business communities where growth and discipline are the norm. Limit time with chronic complainers or financial victims, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity for your own progress. Seek accountability partners who will challenge you, ask tough questions, and hold you to your promises. Even a single relationship like this can transform the trajectory of your financial life. Remember, wealth is not just a matter of skill or luck. It's about your environment, your influences, and your daily interactions. When you immerse yourself in circles of intelligence, discipline, and vision, your habits, mindset, and results naturally rise. Choose your company wisely, and you will elevate not just your income, but your capacity to think, act, and build wealth beyond what you thought possible. Your network is your net worth. Treat it as such. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the close of this journey together, I want you to pause and reflect on what we've discussed today. All the principles, all the strategies, all the habits we've explored aren't just abstract ideas. They are the very foundation upon which lasting wealth is built. The truth is simple yet profound. Wealth is not an event, it is a process. It is shaped by the decisions you make daily, the disciplines you embrace, the knowledge you acquire, and the people you allow into your circle. The moment you understand that your financial destiny is in your hands, your life begins to change. Too often, people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect income, the perfect opportunity. They tell themselves, "I'll start tomorrow," or "When I earn more, I'll invest." But the reality is that wealth begins the moment you take responsibility for your present circumstances. The wealthy do not wait for more. They start with what they have. They pay themselves first, invest in their growth, diversify their income, and delay gratification. Every dollar, every hour, every decision is intentionally directed toward building freedom. And you can do the same. The key is action, consistency, and clarity. Remember the 70/30 principle we've explored. Living on 70% of your earnings while dedicating 10% to your growth, 10% to your future, and 10% to giving is not merely a formula, it is a philosophy. It teaches discipline, creates opportunities, and shifts your mindset from scarcity to abundance. By following this rule, you stop being a servant to money and start making money serve you. Your lifestyle adapts to your means, your investments begin to compound, and your capacity to influence others grows through the habit of giving. It is a rhythm, a system, and a habit that, when applied faithfully, creates exponential results over time. But it is not just about money. It is about who you become in the process. When you invest in yourself, you develop skills that no economic downturn can take away. When you surround yourself with people of intelligence, discipline, and vision, your habits, thinking, and results are elevated. When you teach, mentor, and share your knowledge, your wealth multiplies far beyond what you could achieve alone. Financial success is as much about character as it is about capital. And the greatest reward is not only what you build for yourself, but what you leave behind for others. I urge you to take the first step today. It does not have to be monumental. Open a savings account, allocate your first 10% toward growth, buy that first book that expands your mind, or start a conversation about money with someone you trust. Set one clear financial goal, write it down, and attach a deadline to it. Take consistent action, however small, and watch it compound over time. Discipline, clarity, and persistence will carry you where luck alone cannot. Never forget the power of patience and delayed gratification. Every dollar you save, every investment you make, every lesson you learn compounds like a seed planted in fertile soil. Ignore the noise, resist the temptation of instant pleasure, and focus on the harvest. Wealth is a marathon, not a sprint, and every choice you make today moves you closer to the life you dream of. So I challenge you now, decide that you will no longer be a passenger in your financial life. Take control, pay yourself first, live intentionally. Invest in your mind, your future, and those around you. Build systems, not just budgets. Surround yourself with excellence. Share what you learn. Take action even when it seems small, because small, consistent actions create massive results over time. Your future self is waiting, and your wealth, freedom, and legacy begin the moment you commit to acting today. Make the choice, embrace the discipline, and let the journey to financial mastery and a life of abundance begin now.